Have you ever thought to yourself that building muscle feels so complicated, but social media makes it look so easy? Maybe you've even worried that you have bad muscle building genetics. I've coached hundreds of people in person and online, from complete beginners to experienced lifters, to help them build their best physiques ever. And what I've learned is that it's very seldom genetics holding people back. I've boiled it down to 5 simple mistakes that a lot of people make that is inadvertently sabotaging their muscle building progress. Today I'm going to show you the mistakes that you're probably making and the most simple ways to fix these mistakes, so you too can build your best physique ever. I'm 15 kilos or 33 pounds heavier in the after photo of this 6-year transformation, but yet I'm still lean enough to have a visible six-pack. This is because I spent the majority of the time eating plenty of food to give my body the raw materials it needs to fuel the training and to build the muscle. And then I spent a small amount of time in cutting phases to remove body fat quickly. Most people will look significantly better if they put on a good amount of lean mass. Think of the jacked lean guy or the toned girl. I'm not talking about dirty bulking and putting on loads of fat. I'm talking about having a strategy to slowly put on weight in a controlled way while maintaining a relatively lean physique in order to ultimately get great results. So if over the course of 1 year you were 180 pounds in February 2025 and your body weight hasn't changed at all over the last year, so you're still like 180 pounds or about 80 kilos in February 26, so over the course of this year, no body weight change at all, it's unfortunately very likely that you haven't built that much muscle. Is it possible that you can recomp, so lose some body fat, build some muscle, but your body weight doesn't change much? Yes, it is possible. And actually with my clients, the first 2 to 3 months of the program, I actually intentionally go through a body recomposition phase with them. But in order to build an appreciable amount of muscle, you do need to slowly gain weight over time. You can always cut down later and lose the body fat, but you do need to slowly gain weight. And therefore, guys, if your body weight hasn't changed at all in the last 12 months, it's unfortunately very likely that you haven't built that much muscle in the last year. If you open up Instagram, you're bombarded by people telling you that you need to lift heavy. Lifting heavy weight is what builds muscle, right? And yes, I guess this is technically true, but it doesn't explain the concept in enough detail to actually be helpful. If someone heard that lifting heavy weights is what you need to build muscle, they'd be forgiven for thinking that what they needed to do was go into the gym, find the heaviest possible dumbbells that they could lift, and then move that weight using any muscles or by any means possible. But actually, your goal in the gym is simple. During a set, your goal is just to put as much tension on the target muscle of the exercise as possible. A great example of how people get this very wrong is lateral raises. You can either do what I call a cheat lateral raise, where you're really muscling the weight up, or a strict lateral raise. So in this example, let's say the cheat lateral raise was 40 pounds and the strict lateral raise was like less than half the weight, it was 15 pounds. The cheat lateral raise, just to get the weight up, you'll need to use a lot of different muscles, your traps, your side delts, and your forearms. Whereas with a strict lateral raise, you can really isolate the side delts, which of course is the target muscle of a lateral raise. In a cheat lateral raise, it's very possible that none of these muscles will be taken to failure. And actually, because your traps are the biggest muscle group of these 3, they will take over. In a strict lateral raise, which is in absolute terms is less than half the weight, your side delts can absolutely be pushed to failure. So paradoxically, 15 pounds is heavier than 40 pounds for your side delts. Lifting heavy is just relative to the exercise that you're doing. If it's a compound lift that hits lots of muscle groups, then lifting heavy, as long as your technique is good, makes sense, continuing to progress. But if it's an isolation lift, like a lateral raise, which is just trying to isolate the side delts, you want to be lifting heavy in the sense that you want to make the target muscle really strain, but not so heavy that you start cheating with other muscles. You really don't want to be the guy who's embarrassed to lift the light weights, so they ego lift with heavy weights that are too heavy for them to lift with anything remotely close to clean form. And therefore, you never actually build the muscle and strength required to lift the heavier weights with good form. So you end up cheating yourself out of gains and cheating yourself out of future gains as well. Ego lifting is a lose-lose. You don't build the muscle now and you don't set yourself up to build more muscle in the future. It's far more preferable to lift lighter weights now that you can use good controlled form with, so that you can ultimately progress to using really good form with substantially heavier weights. That's how people end up repping lifting 3 plates aside on the bench press or dumbbell pressing the 60-pound dumbbells in each hand. Small incremental jumps with good technique over months and years. The cycle of ego lifting is what a lot of people get stuck in. And because they can't leave their ego at the door, lift within their means and slowly build up, they never actually build a physique that they're proud of. The internet is protein mad at the moment. And this is great. Protein is very important. As a fitness coach, I'm frankly thrilled that people are learning that they need to eat a solid amount of protein each day. It's great for keeping you full, helping you build muscle, and it's just good for your overall health. But people have taken eating protein way too far, in my opinion. The easiest way that I've found to remember how much protein you need to eat is this kind of daily protein formula. So it's 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. So if you're an 80 kilogram person, that's about 180 pounds. That's a daily minimum of 130 grams of protein per day. Are there arguments for going slightly higher than this? Yes, and in a lot of cases, I do go slightly higher than this with my clients. 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day seems to tap out the muscle building effect from protein per day. If you follow this formula and you hit this daily minimum, you should be maxing out your muscle building potential most of the time. People think that they need to eat loads of protein to build muscle, and it is true, you do need to eat sufficient protein to build muscle. But we have proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, the 3 macronutrients. All 3 of these macronutrients are what food is made up of. All of the food that you eat is some combination of protein, fats, and carbs, right? So ideally, protein is used for muscle building and carbohydrates are used for energy. But if we don't eat sufficient carbohydrates, our body starts using protein for energy, which means that the protein can't be used for muscle building and muscle repair as efficiently. So people think that all they need to do to build muscle is eat more protein, but that's not true. You need protein and carbohydrates. So paradoxically, and this is more true for the women that I coach, but men have this issue too, people are under eating carbohydrates, and that's a huge reason why they can't build muscle, because you need the carbs for energy so that the protein can do its job of muscle building. It's pretty common that we need to add weight to our exercises in order to continue to build muscle. This is the concept of progressive overload. Progressive tension is required for us to continue to make adaptations. So a lot of people think that if the goal is progressive overload, surely just adding as much weight as you can, as often as you can, is the best way to build muscle. Remember what I said earlier in the video about lifting heavy. Lifting heavy weight is what builds muscle, right? This concept applies to adding weight to our exercises as well. Our muscles do adapt over time, but unless you're a complete beginner, it is unlikely that you'll be getting stronger literally every week. But you can often add a rep or 2, and on big compound lifts, you can usually add a little bit of weight every other week. Often people who seem to have built their physiques overnight, actually all they did was focus on adding fractional amounts of weight in a disciplined and consistent manner when they felt truly ready to go up. If you do this and you stay disciplined and you keep doing it week in, week out, you will make significantly more progress than most people who add way too much weight way too quickly, end up spinning their wheels, and after the beginner stage, their first year or 2, they don't really progress any more than that because they were way too eager to add weight as often as they could. And then you hear stuff like progressive overload is a lie. Progressive overload is not a lie. People just underestimate how slow you sometimes need to go. A huge reason why people don't make the gains that they want is that they don't have a long enough time view of progressive overload. So this is progressive overload visualized over a year, right? And this is just adding 2 pounds or like 1 kilo every second week. So this is pretty conservative progression, I would say. Over 52 weeks, if you add 2 pounds every second week, you are 50 pounds stronger. So would you like a 50 pound stronger bench press? I bet you would. That's like over 20 kilos stronger. And somebody who's lifting 50 pounds or over 20 kilos more on their bench press is going to have bigger triceps, bigger delts, and a bigger chest. And this can be extrapolated for any lift in the gym. The point is just that if you have very sensible, very gradual progression over weeks and months, you will ultimately be a much more muscular, much stronger person a year from now. This may sound a little crazy, but I actually strongly endorse filming your sets and documenting your fitness journey. I regularly have new clients join my fitness program, and they tell me that they think their form is pretty good. Each client of mine films 2 sets per workout, and they train 4 times a week, so that's 8 sets per week. And once they start filming themselves, they're often shocked by how bad their form looks.
Damn, is that how I look in the gym?
And maybe this doesn't apply to you. Maybe you do genuinely have good lifting technique. But a lot of people think their technique is way better than it actually is. And you can only know for sure if your technique is good if you see the same exercise done week in, week out. Another benefit of filming your training is to see how intensely you are training. Often what feels like a difficult set doesn't look nearly as hard as it felt. I've filmed sets of mine that felt really brutally difficult, but then watched the footage back and thought to myself, wow, I really thought I was super close to failure, but honestly the rep speed didn't look like it slowed down at all. If you film yourself, you'll realize that you regularly stop at least 1 rep before you should, if not 2 or 3 reps. Filming your sets is the ultimate definitive proof of training intensity. If the set felt brutal when you did it and also looked like a 10 out of 10 effort in the video, then you can be pretty much 100% sure that it was an effective set for muscle building. And if you feel awkward filming in the gym, try to set up your phone in such a way that you don't get too many people in the background of the video. But also remember that this is a public space. Filming your training is a very powerful tool to help you on your fitness journey. I might have a different opinion to a lot of the internet who seems to be very anti-filming, but I'm actually very pro-filming as long as it's just like a 45-second set and you're not live streaming or something like that. Remember that you're filming your sets for a purpose. The videos are an investment in your mental health, physical health, body image, and physique development. Only true haters would criticize you for filming a less than 1 minute set in the gym. What I say to my clients all the time is if you feel awkward filming in the gym, remember that you're doing it for a reason and don't let others' opinions stop you from achieving your goals. And there you have it, guys, the 5 mistakes that I regularly see people making that are holding them back from hitting their physique goals. It's not that you're not trying hard, it's not that you're not consistent, it's not that your nutrition is bad. It's just that you need to tweak these mistakes slightly and you will start to make progress again. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more no bullshit, evidence-based fitness and nutrition tips from a coach who works with real people in the real world every day of my life. If you want to work with me, the applications for coaching are in the first link of the description. And check out this video on nutrition next, which goes over why I don't get fat on 4,000 calories a day.